Yeah.
Live.
Divine love. We are back chopping it up with the tribe, going over just some things, some new developments that have happened in the world as it relates to the American Empire, the Americanas Empire, which is now referred to as the Aborigine Moors Empire of the world. The ancient imperial Moors were brought out of interregnum in year 2016. So I have been moving forward vigorously, championing this cause in my chariot, in my Cancerian chariot, of course. And the latest development, finally, uh, I got a spiritual breakthrough. See, everything has been revealed to me, and I have seen with my own eyes, with my own experience, and my own life. Everything is spiritual, and it even affirms that in the ancient texts. We have been struggling not with flesh and bone, but by spiritual principalities. So let me tell you what happened. So, about 9 days ago or so, I put in a writ of replevin into the international courts and international authorities based on my tribal governance and my tribal court, which stands on full faith and credit in every venue, in every court. I will come back and show you the documentation that I'm talking about, but since me and my noble just got on this topic, I figured I would come on and record it because it's very relevant to all of us that have inheritances, which, if you are blood type A, it is absolute that you have an inheritance that has been kept from you, especially if you are in America. You have a trust account and you have an inheritance that these governments have been using to fund everything they have been doing since 1950, since they've been orchestrating governance over us and have come in to America's states, Washington D.C., and formed a corporation called the United States Corporation. So about 9 days ago, I executed on a writ of replevin and I sent it in to the proper authorities. And within hours, and it had to do with the estate that I claim that has been revealed to me that I'm the beneficiary of. Okay? Within hours, the FBI went into London, England, and executed the Article 15 claim and complaint and my right as a beneficiary, and authorities that I invoked were the Article 15 complaint and claim, the writ of replevin to return the property, and also as an indigenous governance and tribal governance, there are laws that I can make and invoke through my own tribal court. And that is the full faith and credit. So the law that I invoked was, I brought it forth and made them act upon it because it's a U.S. statute, the full faith and credit of tribal governments. So that means I have the power to invoke full faith and credit with my orders, and every court has to abide by those orders. And it's in the law. This is in the law. And so I brought forth the North Carolina statute, full faith and credit, which I've been using for almost 2 decades. That's how I have been able to write orders in my own tribal court and my own tribal governance. So um, the law speaks about the right of the tribal government to issue protection orders with full faith and credit. All right. So that's what I did. And they went into London, England to retrieve replevin. A replevin act, an action, a replevin action means to recover property, return the property. Okay. So I issued this against the false royals in London, England, Italy, America, Morocco, Japan, because that's my family line's estate. The ones that are there right now are pretenders. They are not the authentic imperial or royal lineage that have been presenting themselves as imperial out of Japan and China, out of London, England, out of Morocco and the so called Middle East and America. So after I did this and issued this based on those three principles of law, authorities of law, within hours, the FBI went and raided those homes that I let them know was under my name and under my family estate. Okay. They arrested Camilla, and they went into the home of Camilla. The FBI came from America into London, England, and did this. And they've been in and out of court, having court issues because of this, because of the claims that I have brought forth, that I have brought back forth, that I have resurrected under my family's name, my true bloodline. So they have uncovered a lot of documentation and information that these people have been using that have to do with my inheritance, my family estate, my family name, and all the houses that are actually in my name that was left in my name when I was a teenager and before my great great grandmother left the earthly plane. She put it in my name, but I never knew. So all of my name was popping up everywhere over the years, and I was in real estate, so I had a lot of houses anyway in my name in America. But when people started looking into me and my situation, they would tell me your name is everywhere. I didn't know what they was talking about until these rogue government actors, these deep state government agents started following me. I didn't know that it was to this extent that it is right now. Okay, this is where all of the issues with me and housing come from. Okay, let's look at it from the spiritual aspect. I know what it is spiritually But everybody onlooking don't they can't fathom why I keep having these problems with housing issues and different things like that. For one, it's happening because of a rogue governance and officials who want to railroad, who want to uh, bully me, take possession of something that belongs to me, strong arm me, and I'm not, you know, going to roll over and lay down for that. I'm going to fight, especially when I know I'm being violated, and especially when at no time in any of those incidences that they put me all over the news for was there ever a lawful warrant or a lawful due process. Okay, by me being in real estate for years since the age of 19, and having licenses in real estate, currently I'm still a master, a certified master mortgage loan underwriter. So I know the law. I know the law, especially as it pertains to real estate law. I know when I'm being violated. Okay, so this was just out of the blue. They came. I had paid for the house cash because I was tired of them uprooting me and my children, unlawful evictions, just harassment and stalking and following. And I didn't really know at the time the full extent of why they kept targeting me. I was just thinking because I claim indigenous status as a Moor and I stand on it and I know how to beat them in court and they cannot, do what they want to do with me. But lo and behold, it was something much greater than that. And in the spirit realm, it was revealed to me that the issues had to happen regarding housing because my challenges and my breakthrough would come through a housing issue. So if I didn't put the energy on the housing issue and fight for my house in the spirit realm in the universe knows no difference. See what I'm saying? Even though it was being kept from me, the universe and my ancestors was working things out for me to be able to get clarity, not only for the house that I'm knowing they trying to take, but the house and houses that they've been taking and stealing. So spiritually, that had to happen. It was very difficult for me and my children, but what can I say? It's not something that I would have wished upon anybody or wanted to have happen myself. But at the same time, studying my chart, my astrological birth chart, it was destined to happen. So that's the story of all of me being in the news regarding a house, which really it wasn't even about that house. It was about something much greater. So about 4 years ago, I came into the full, um, probably not the full, but the knowledge of what my bloodline was and why these groups from around the world were coming to Charlotte, North Carolina, now Imperial City, to follow me and my children. Okay, I'm talking about blatantly wearing all black all the time, showing up everywhere that I'm at, um, just ops everywhere. So that's what it was. My estate, my family estate, is situated in places worldwide, and when I start coming into my purpose, they started coming for me. They didn't want to. When I started revealing myself, coming out in public, making myself known, as a tribal leader, and I have a following and things like that. They was trying to keep me dimmed down. They didn't want nobody to know about me and Come to find out, they have been committing all of these acts of secrecy and sorcery against me throughout my life for me to not even be here on this earthly plane for one, but to be dimmed out, not to be seen. Nobody was ever supposed to know it was me. So evidently my ancestors, I know they did. They protected the family estate and the houses that were left in my name spiritually because the people could not change the documents. The same thing as beneficiary of America. Kid you not. It blew my mind when I found out all of this. So I'm at the same time I'm in a whirlwind. People coming past the house every day, putting stuff on my house. If you go back and look at the pictures of the house they put online, it's black stuff all over the house because these witches working for the Vatican and these fake rulers in London, England, and Italy, Santerias and cartel had took over the neighborhood. They tried to take over the jail and the sheriff's office. And that's when they came in large numbers and tried to take me. They tried to kidnap. This is what the spirit revealed to me, and there were several different things that led me to know this. They wanted to kidnap me. The police officers, when they came, they was not from around the area. They was from New York or somewhere. It immediately I got the message that they was from New York, and I heard the accent. It was three of them. They couldn't kill me. They couldn't pull the guns out on me. They had me. I finally surrendered. But this was a funny situation. If I could have got out of it, but I just went on and went with them because it was just ridiculous. But I'll talk about that story one day too. But they had me cornered. Finally, they got into the house. There was no lock on the front door at this time because some rogue had just kicked it in. Talking about a bounty hunter. I'm telling you, they came at me consecutively after they was trying to do this for a long time but they couldn't break the spiritual protection because like I said, we have a spiritual inheritance. They couldn't break the spiritual inheritance and my covering, so they kept doing things spiritually to try to break it. So come to find out, when I sent this complaint in, you can go online, there's somebody on YouTube, retro, something like that. He's over there reporting what's been going on in the courts and how the FBI from America went over there and started investigating Camilla. And during all of this, they have reopened the case of um, the Princess Diana, which we know that all of these kings and queens, princes and princesses are not the valid bloodline to be claiming royal status, imperial status, no matter how it looks, no matter how glorious and glamorous they making it look. They're not the bloodline, the true and authentic bloodline that had that kind of power walked with lions. If they try to walk with lions or tame lions, them lions will eat them up. You don't see them walking with lions because they can't. They're food. They're the blood type. The animals smell blood. They know the DNA. That's why every time these people go out here and try to live with these animals and tame these animals and bears and all of that, they eat them up. If you are not an authentic human being, an animal like that, their instincts is going to kick in. That's why you don't never see, they're not real imperials, they're not real royals. If you know your history, well, if you know her story, if you know the legacy of the imperial bloodlines and the royal bloodlines, they walked with lions. And they have lions all around them in certain things and attributes. that they do. Okay, so all of these are frauds. The highest council, and you see the fraud, the Pope just got his character just got laid to rest. He's not supposed to be wearing that headdress or carrying that staff or representing the seal, the family seal with the two Moors heads on it. He's not supposed to be representing that at all because it's not of his bloodline. These are props. This is a franchise for the people, the so called black nobility running them in the background, who are, some of them were in my legitimate bloodline, but they were not the heirs to the estates that I'm speaking of. So it was a big thing with the family line, and they turned on the family and all of those things. And I have audio books and actual books that will be coming out regarding that. But getting back, fast forward to what just happened. What could give the FBI the power to go into another country and raid somebody's mansion, no less? A so-called royal member. She was walking around the other month with this so-called King Charles with a crown on her head. Now she's in jail. She's in jail. I'm going to tell y'all, it's over. The facades is over. The spiritual criminals and their white collar crimes is over. You talking about, these are people that have really been going around unaliving heirs to the land and stealing their inheritances. And it first starts by them spiritually attacking them the way they did to get in power. Everything starts in the spirit realm. Everything starts in the spirit realm. And that is what's going on. That's the latest update with America and Empress America Maxima, my great great grandmother, and me, myself, and I, Empress Ninti L. Bay. So, y'all stay tuned. Watch out for that story. I'm telling you, it's going down. They all going down. First the Pope, King Charles, Camilla, and the wife of this, the prince, the one calling himself Prince William, um not Megan, the other young lady. She's supposedly sick or ill on her way out, but this is all of that sorcery and negative energy and their spell work and all of that stuff that has been going sent back to them. Okay, this is the same way that I got out from this unlawful imprisonment they had me in. It was all acts of sorcery. They had sorcerers and witches and warlocks coming in and out the jail. Like I said, this Tren de Agua and the cartels, Mexican cartels, was in there deep. They had taken over. They literally tried to take over the jailhouse and the sheriff's office. They was doing witchcraft. They was doing everything they could to come against me, putting poison in my food daily. I'm still trying to get myself back right from it. Just dehydrated, kept me in the hole, barely no water, barely no showers. They just really tried to do me in because of the bloodline I come from and the claims that I have brought forth because of my bloodline. And it was like the whole world was coming against me. It was like crazy. But I had to maintain my mental clarity, my spiritual clarity, because these idiots actually went into court and tried to represent me as not being competent. Why would you go into court and try to deem me not competent for a little rinky dink manufactured home, mobile home? The neighborhood doesn't look like it, but if I wanted to, I could pick the house up. It'll take a lot to do it, and they in fact tried to do it. They wanted to take the whole house up from the ground, lied to my children, and told my children after they kidnapped me that the house was being taken. They kept trying to do different things, but come to find out, this was all a part of their sorcery rituals, trying to see if they could get away with something. Once I got in tune spiritually and started really watching everything and everybody around me, it got real clear to me what was going on. I said, these people are spiritual criminals. How are they able to do this? Well, they started impersonating me and members of my family in order to get close to me. So, this is how these so called rulers of the world today, the black nobility that's been in the background running these props. This is a franchise. The presidency, the prime ministers, Congress, all of this is a franchise. Just like they copyrighted the Bible, it's a franchise that they want to control. It's no different with the royal families, those so called royal families that we know are not the royal bloodline. They may be calling themselves royal in the public because they can control the media and they can put on the world's greatest show all they want to. But they are not the authentic bloodline royals, heirs to the land. And you can tell, you can just, a person that really knows, an individual that really knows, you can just see royals and imperials don't serve in the army. They wear army memorabilia, regalia all over them all the time. The men in the royal family, and even Queen Elizabeth, so-called Queen Elizabeth, was in the army. Who serves in the army in their actual imperial or royal? That's not what we do. You only serve in armed forces unless you're being ordered to do so. Royals don't serve in their own army unless it's back in the day and you just want to get on your horse and lead your army, but you definitely don't have to do that. That's not something you're going to put yourself in the forefront of. It just don't happen like that. I'm sorry. They tell a bunch of stories and a bunch of fairy tales and fables, and everybody eat it up and just believe it without even thinking about it. That don't even make no sense. But anyway, this false royal bloodline is over. It's over for them. It's a wrap for them. They done raided the house. She's been arrested. She's been in jail for some time, for quite a while, and everybody is in an uproar over there in London, England. But we're not hearing about it over here because and they don't want it in the news. If you connected to everybody who runs everything, you can tell them, make sure this don't get out. Make sure this doesn't go in the news. So there's some people on TikTok, that's why they want to shut down TikTok and social media, because they don't want people hearing the real news. They can't control the narrative no more. They can't control the narrative the way they want to. They want to spin the narrative. They want to uh keep us in the dark. They want to try to keep us from knowing the truth about what's really going on. It's just, you know, that's what it is. It's been a long journey, and I'll be glad when it all comes out. I'll be glad when it all comes out, and the world knows the truth. How these people and their religious groups, the Vatican, Cabal, Archdiocese, the Catholic Church, are nothing but witches and warlocks who get what they want by spiritual means and spiritual gang stalking. These are spiritual criminals and white collar criminals. Period. I've dealt with them firsthand. I've been dealing with them for a long time. They use the power of numbers to harness energy to get what they want. Okay, anytime you see somebody up and just go into a building and start shooting, or one day go crazy, their mind is gone, and they start killing everybody in the family, or start doing all of these things, and um, or just up and commit suicide. These are spiritual attacks. These are spiritual attacks that have been waged against them by groups, gang stalkers. So, this is what I wanted to share with the public, with the collective, with my soul tribe, that these things have been going on, and the star seeds, the chosen ones, the children of the promised land, you have an inheritance. There's no need to fight anybody. Your brothers and sisters that look like you on some gang war type stuff, that's sorcery and casting and conjuring too against you, in order for you to take each other out. They want you to take each other out.
Hey, I sent you something.
Okay.
Did you get
Okay,
it?
let me check.
I just seen it on
Oh, share
YouTube.
here. Share your screen here. Click on the plus, click on the plus
Okay,
button
hold
and
on.
see if you can share it. Yeah, it's going down in London, England. It's going down in Italy. That's why they had to kill off that false pope. I wonder what happened. I wonder what happened. Noble dropped off. Yeah, they want to try to keep us dumbed down and not knowing what's going on in the world. This is what they've been doing. You gonna share your screen?
I'm trying to. I sent it to your Facebook. It's an
Uh,
imposter.
huh?
It's an imposter. The imposter. You want to see that?
You seen it already? You probably sending it to the wrong place. I don't see it. I don't see you sending me nothing. I don't see any chats from you. I don't have Messenger either. So,
It's on my
but
Facebook.
huh?
I loaded the YouTube video from YouTube to my Facebook and your Facebook. Is the one who's calling herself Empress of the Slaggy Dynasty?
The fraud.
That's
It's only one.
which call his wife? Uh Brother that's in jail. He started with the Nuwabi Nation. Uh
Why? Yeah, because they trying to harness energy. This is the spiritual stuff people be doing.
what's his
Every,
name?
everybody who know the movement know who.
Malachi Z. York.
That's his wife.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Nope. That's his wife.
But see, let me tell you something. His group, just like many other groups, have been infiltrated,
Uh
heavily
what's
infiltrated.
Chief Pontiac is the one that put her in that position.
Chief Pontiac. Ain't no
He
Chief
calls
Pontiac.
himself he calls himself Chief Pontiac, and he's supposed to have
He's probably an op too. I don't pay no attention to these ops. And I keep telling you, stop paying attention to these ops. I know you be wanting to be kumbaya and everybody come together, but everybody ain't meant to come together, especially if they ain't right. Half of them ain't right. Most of them are ops, and we had to learn that in our own tribe. You know what I'm saying? These people be hiding themselves spiritually. It's a lot they've been doing. These Masons and Freemasons and all of these secret groups that think they got more knowledge and think they more smart than everybody else, and pulling energy and ciphering people's energy, trying to destiny swap. A lot of spiritual criminals taking orders from their spiritual leaders, which are these so-called popes and priests and everybody who is supposed to be looked up to as authentic leader, who is really a wolf in sheep's clothing, and having all of their members and disciples doing all of these acts of secrecy and sorcery, harvesting energy, trying to pull people's energy. The same thing these fake Jews been doing all these years, living close to us, especially in Detroit. They want to live close to us so they can pull our energy, harness our energy, harvest our energy. These are called sorcerers who like to source energy from other people and been walking in our inheritance as us because we don't know who we are. We don't know our spiritual inheritance and our earthly inheritance because it was stolen from us. We don't know that most of us don't know who we are. We don't know that we have this inheritance. But the ones who stole the knowledge and information know it. So they've been walking as us. They've been walking as the children of Israel. Even
I'm trying to
going
figure
starting
it out.
even going starting their own uh so-called state of Israel on Palestinians' land that's not their own land, but they refuse to tell the truth. They rather tear everything down and destroy everything and everybody, holding on to the lie. That's not their land. Yet they killing innocent women and children and people daily, trying to prove a point about what? What are you doing? Just accept your punishment. Go back into the caves or drink some water like you've been ordered to do, like it's been written already. And now the time is here. But instead, they rather keep fighting me, Empress of America.com, shameless plug. They rather keep fighting me, keep fighting the children of the land, the heirs of the land, acting like it's theirs when it's not. Trying to force feed the lie out to the public to keep people thinking that it's true when it's not. They keep repeating the same stuff, the same lie over and over, thinking it is going to make people forget who they are. It's just crazy. But these are the acts of sorcerers, secret societies, and their acts of secrecy and sorcery. And this is against the law. Acts of secrecy is in the law books. It's against the law to commit acts of secrecy. It's against the law to stalk. It's against the law to gang stalk. They've been doing everything in the book that is unlawful and wearing a title behind it while wearing a title. From the top to the bottom, the cabal, the Vatican is one and the same. The Pope, the gray Pope, the black Pope, the white Pope, the red Pope, the chaplain of Spain, all of them in on the same thing. The wolves in sheep's clothing have been uncloaked and unveiled. The children of the promised land know who we are, and we know how to defend our inheritance, and we have moved forward to take back our inheritance. And all of the spells casting and conjuring against us to fight one another and for our youth to kill each other off and do their work is done. We done with that. We know better, now we do better. We here to collect. We here to collect, period. Nobody can stop us from collecting our inheritance. And that's what their contention with me is. They think I'm gonna be embarrassed or give up if they defame me, if they put me in the news and tell a bunch of lies and make people think I'm this and I'm that. I don't give a flying hoot what they say. It'll come out one day.
Can you
It's
see
gonna,
it?
it's gonna all come out in the wash. Yeah, I got the tech. I got it.
Okay.
I'm not interested in giving that no energy, Nova. I already know she's fraud. I'm not putting that. You want me to put that up for the people to see the fraudulent stuff?
No, that's just for your eyes.
Okay,
That's why I tagged you.
okay, I got it. I see it here. I'll look at it, but I ain't interested in giving no ops my energy. And them ops we discovered through divination, we have our own divination court. Nobody can fool us. Nobody can pull the wool over our eyes. We come together in unison in a court of nobles to find out the truth. We have our own courts, tribal governance, tribal courts. That's where the world is heading. There's no more uh, false, fake corpse, dead corporations. Corpse is dead. That's a dead entity. This is how they was able or made this corporation system available to them and all of their businesses so that they can operate and have a way to operate on the land when they are not of authentic birthright to operate on the land. So they made it lawful for a dead corporation to do business on the land. Well, that's no more. Everything has to go back to the way it was in 1786. That's why you see a lot of the things being changed. That's why you see Homeland Security coming to the forefront because they represent the homeland. Somebody from the homeland is giving them orders. And that beneficiary of the homeland has homeland in other countries, islands, and territories, which is how the FBI is able to have power and authority to go to another country and close up shop and do raids and collect on a writ of replenishment and collect the Empress's gold that has been demanded. All the gold is coming into America. Now they want to know how much is in Fort Knox. None of your business. None of your business. So this is the contention that the ops have had with me is because I know who I am and whose I am, and I'm walking in that power. I'm manifesting in that power. I'm making things move in that power worldwide, no doubt about it.
So how do we put a stop to that?
To what? These frauds? We
Yeah.
got to deal with them spiritually.
Okay.
I told you before, put your energy on it. Is somebody ordering them higher up to try to convolute the movement? We've been through this before some years back when everybody tried to come in. When I came out with Empress's Court, everybody tried to come in, come out and start their own court, the counselor's court, this and that and this. Those are COINTELPRO operations because the ones giving them the orders from high up already know that I'm in the line of right. I'm in the right of way to be doing what I'm doing. That's why nobody can challenge me on the passport that I copyrighted that say America on it.
Hmm.
That's my birthright to do that.
I didn't know Salagi had a Y in it. I thought it just had an I in it.
It has a Y in it,
Okay.
and and, and that's on the carbon footprint, Salagi dynasty, and who created that, and who came
Right.
out first came out with it. So but they thought I wasn't gonna be here. You feel me?
Right.
They were banking on me when they locked me up for that 13 months. They was banking on me not even being here to challenge nothing. So they went off and did a lot of stuff, acting like they were me or acting like they was fiduciaries for me or acting like they was um a ward. They was acting like they was my guardians or something.
Can you see that?
Yeah, all frauds will be revealed. Do your work. You know what to do.
Yeah, I know what to do.
You know what to do.
Yeah.
We went through that update too the other day. We have to remove the cloaks and the veils and then get our answers because we need to know the truth in divination court because these orders from our tribal governance and our tribal court go to the highest orders and authorities worldwide. And it is weighing in on everything that's going on in America and everywhere that is under my beneficial state. So this is the problem that the ops have with me because I know my powers and I move in them and I execute them and I do it at the highest level. For the past, since 2019, I developed the Empress's World Course in 2017, started really moving in a lot of the international laws set out for the rights of indigenous peoples in 2019 and started giving orders to the higher authorities worldwide from my tribal court in 2019. And I won the case on behalf of the rights of indigenous peoples in North Carolina in 2010. $101,006,000 in the name of the family of the Moors versus uh, state of North Carolina. Family of the Moors for with and by Ninti El Bay in 2010, based on these same laws, based on these same biblical principles that I wrote the reclamation upon. Okay, the reclamation is a document, a 10-page document reclaiming indigenous status, reclaiming your right to the land. And that
It's your
gets filed,
birthright.
that's your birthright. And that gets filed at the county. The county is our court of venue, our court of law. An affidavit and a certified copy from the county is considered as law when filed in any court case. So these little things that I know is what kept me free, is what kept them bowing down to me in respect once they got me in that courtroom. Because you're not, they realized they wasn't dealing with a dummy. You can't just throw me around and railroad me and strong arm me and think that I don't know when I'm being violated. Every time I open a book, a law book, I opened it straight to the information I needed. So I knew I was being divinely led every time, every step of the way. So these are some of the things that the spirit realm, my spirit team, my ancestors have shown me that I had to go through it, or I wouldn't have even known that this type of abuse exists. I mean, these people are blatant with their abuse. And I was talking to my mother today. She was like, I don't understand. Why would they do that? And you paid for the house. I said, because they're violators. They're bullies. They want a strong arm and take whatever they can take from somebody. That's what they do. I'm not one for that. I'm not gonna lay down for them. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what to tell everybody. My family and people who really don't know me. I'm not gonna back down, especially when I know I'm right. I live and die by mine, period. And that's just the way it is. That's the way I was born. That's the way I was raised. And that's just who I am. I don't care what they have to say. That mess don't deter me not one bit. In fact, it always brings me more notoriety and more people asking questions. More people want to know what happened. How did you get out of that? They said you had 20 years. You was locked down with the Piper Glen incident. They couldn't take that house from me. I just ended up leaving because I didn't want to put my children in danger. You got the Ku Klux Klan. I'm down here in the South. I was raised in Detroit, up north. You know, straight game. I know everything about real estate. You can't tell me nothing about real estate. I knew what I was doing, but they didn't like it. It was just a matter of common opinion. That's why they put it in the news to try to make it look a certain way when it really wasn't lawful what they was
It did,
doing.
it did a smear campaign.
Yeah, and they tried to do it again. Oh, she's locked up again. And I'm saying to myself, see, this is what lets you know they didn't expect for me to make it out of that situation because they knew I had paid for that house, and they knew they had got the notices from the higher authorities. But look at what they're doing in Palestine. They not following international orders to cease and desist. What they're doing,
Mm.
Netanyahu got a warrant out for his arrest.
Yep.
So these are the same ones that been ordering people and all these immigrants to come over to America to try to take it over, flood us with drugs, take over our governments, and try to take me out. This lady that's calling herself the Empress, and let us look into her. They looked into me. That's what they found. That I not only am a beneficiary of America, I got. They did a whole asset inheritance search. Oh man, that's when they came out of the woodworks, following me, trying to take me out. But this is their game plan. This is their play that they've been doing for years, stealing inheritances and taking the families out and walking in their name. So they thought they was gonna do that to me. They found out I have an inheritance just about everywhere in every country. So the world, literally, the world was against me. And I am not kidding you. I'm not kidding you. Italy, Spain, Germany, France, Japan, China, Morocco, Dubai, Kenya, Nairobi, Africa, Cameroon, everywhere. They came from everywhere. Senegal, all of their witches and warlocks and wizards was following me. But by this time, I'm already super intuitive and watching everything. I knew the moves being made, and I kept watching. I couldn't take my eyes off of them. That's why I had to fall back for a long time and just sit still and watch everything around me. They moved ops all around the mobile home park that I had reclaimed lawfully, and the police was riding past talking about what tribe is this. They already knew I had made the claim. It had already
Hmm.
been on the books. But yet still, they still tried it. They still came and kidnapped me and tried to hold a court session with a fraudulent judge trying to have some people representing me that I did not hire, saying that I was incompetent. They
Hmm.
somehow they called my mother, and my mother said they called back and said, "Oh, she's very competent." This, that, all of them was under higher orders, trying to see what they can get away with, trying to see if they could take over my beneficial estate and the things that I had reclaimed. They wanted to get their hands on it. So the judge gonna ask me, "Do you want to give anybody authority to help you?" I said, "No, I do not." They was in there running this dog and pony show. I said, "Do you know the same thing?" And meanwhile, while I'm talking, I'm skinny as a rail at this time. I'm this big, look like I'm
Hmm.
about to wither away at any moment. And I'm still letting them have it with all I got. They had me strapped down to a chair, Noble, with chains on my legs, hands, and arms, and around my waist, with six big dudes, Masons, they brought in there. One of the ones who tased me or to roll me down there. They thought they were going to smother me in the elevator. And I had a good talk with them when we was on the elevator and they had me strapped down to a chair when I can walk with my own good legs. I know what they trying, what they think they're going to do. This is how I know the power of the spirit realm and my ancestors, okay? When I tell you I done been through the fire, up close and personal with death and and weapons and guns and people trying to bring me harm in large numbers, and they could not commit the act. So they standing around me in the elevator doing a little seance, and I just, you know, being who I am, I just started talking to them, letting them have it. I said, "Y'all know what? Let me tell y'all fellas something. The real power is not in the physical, and I'm talking about big, good-looking guys, muscle bound. They was looking good.
The brothers or
They were
white
some
guys?
brothers. They were some brothers. Um, I told them, I said, listen, y'all, let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all what a real power is. The real power is not in the physical; it's in the spirit realm. Next thing you know, they rolled me out of the elevator and put me in a room right quick. And they kept coming back looking in the room. They was trying to repent. I knew what they was trying to do. They was trying to see
Hmm.
if they had the energy, the power, and while they was wheeling me down, one of them gonna say, yeah, telling the big dude, the biggest one, telling him, yeah, keep that energy. You gonna need that energy. Thought this nigga was gonna smother me or something. Putting on these gloves, came and stood by me and put on his gloves while I'm in this wheelchair and I'm this big. Tell me the power. Tell me the power of the ancestors ain't real. He thought he was
Hmm.
gonna smother me or something. Hands about this big, big as two hands. He thought he was gonna smother me. He was about 6'7", built to the nines. Couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I was invoking.
Right.
I was. They was trying to do what they was doing, and I was doing what I was doing.
You don't remember no names, huh?
No, I remember their faces. I'm looking at their faces as I'm speaking.
I need
No,
names.
mm-mm. They listen. They got set straight. They got set straight. So
Hmm.
they actually tried to deem me incompetent. Tried to do their spell work to run me crazy. By this time, I've been headstrong all my life. That's number one. Number two, I already know the play. I'm on alert. I'm in the hole the whole time, but I ain't just doing nothing.
So you don't want them to go in the
You
fire,
can put them in the fire, they gone. You know how long ago that's been? They ain't around.
huh? That fire is something else.
Yeah,
Ain't no joke.
yeah. By fire, by force. I had to learn how to do it in my mind. I had to learn how to be a real, true magician in that situation. I didn't have no fire. I had no elements to work with. I had only my own mind. And that's where I developed the true skills of a magi. And I saw it happening right before my eyes.
What was they feeding you?
I went on a vegetarian diet because they kept giving me nasty food, bringing in all this Mexican food from the outside on a white tray. I ended up going off on them because I realized they was giving me different food and they was bringing in old food or food that I could tell three meals in one day. You bring me the same tray. That's when I start throwing the food back out at them. I start going ballistic. I really saw that they was trying to bring me harm by the food. So that's
Yeah.
when I start rejecting the food and going off on them. And that's um, when I noticed that the security guards, the females, were complicit in doing it, and I started watching them. I said, "These are some little witches." That's when I really realized that the plot was on me. When I saw what they was trying to do, I said, "This is all about me." They kept rotating them coming in from New York. A lot of them was coming in from New York. Different.
Whatever happened to that sheriff?
Um, they ain't around.
I think I gotta plug this up
Yeah,
before
I had to plug
it's not
mine up.
okay.
Something is draining my battery down.
I got 48%. It's just the light.
So yeah,
That's weird.
he ended up being in cahoots with them. No, he know who I am. He knows who I am. But see, listen, if you in that field, if you're in that position, you have a higher authority. So they in all of those secret
Yeah.
societies. So he had to do what he was told. He was in a catch 22. Either way it go, he was gonna get burned. You know, either way it
Hmm.
go. But see, they didn't bank on the fact that I would be here to be even making any type of complaint against what they did. They didn't they didn't think that I was going to make it out because of what they were doing as far as the food, depriving me of water. I'm still dehydrated. That's why I'm got this here. I'm still dehydrated. It's taking me the long.
You don't want to take them to uh, World Criminal Court.
I'll deal with my ancestors' court. I don't have time for all that. There's so many of them. It's just so much, so
Yeah.
many of them, so much to deal with. I have to deal with them like they've been trying to deal with me, and that's, you know, give it up to God.
Did, did they finally give you your money?
No, no, we have. That's another reason they don't like me in North Carolina. They still got 101,600,000 on the books with my name on it, and that's what I was just telling my mother. If they owe you money, they not trying to pay you. It's just like an insurance company.
Yeah, I know that they owe me.
You can you can pay. I dealt with that years ago. I made them pay me too, $14,000 one time. Uh, After my car got damaged or in an accident, I had two little children at the time, and they was just making all type of excuses, following me, taking pictures, and doing all kind of crazy stuff. And I'm saying, I've been paying this insurance for I don't know how long. Just pay me. What are y'all doing? But I learned that that's their way. If they can get out of not paying somebody or paying them the least amount of money, that's what they're gonna
Yeah,
do. They don't want to never pay you. If they
they
owe
owe
you,
me over $300,000.
well, you need to put a lien on them. You need to put a lien on them.
They owe my mama $100,000.
Yeah, they don't unless you put some serious magic on them or a standing army or some hands on them. That's the only thing they respect, and that's what I was lacking. Remember, I closed down the courts for
Yeah,
9 months, and then I opened it. The week I opened it back up, the week I sent the order in to open the court back up under my instructions, they kidnapped me because
mm,
everything was shut down for like 9 months. And nobody challenged me. See, my mistake was my knowledge and intellect preceded my army, and
yeah.
I just moved forward. That was my mistake. Okay, but at the same time, the ancestors told me that my my powers is in the spirit realm, and they wanted me to see that. So if I had weapons in the house, like every
Mm,
time I got ready to arm myself or, you know, get in that position, they kept stopping me. They kept stopping me. Something would happen and I could hear them say, no, your power, you are more powerful than them. And
mhm,
that's when I had developed the confidence to know that we are in the spirit realm is actually more powerful than anything physical, even a gun or a weapon. But
mm,
I had to be put to the test, and it's been irony. They've been putting me through the fire so I can come out like gold and go through these situations and know the power they have, the power we have, and that we have the power to make the difference and make a change and know that just because somebody got an arm, a strong arm, or physical power, that don't mean they can use it. That don't mean they can do something to take us away from here or affect us.
Mm.
Some of us are more powerful than them, and that's what they're afraid of. They call us the God gene. And this is what I heard Dick Gregory talking about one time. He would say, they can't kill everybody. And I look back at him like he was back there in the 60s, 50s, 60s, and
Hmm.
70s, running his mouth as he always
Oh.
did. And you know, back then, they would have strung you up.
Hmm. He stayed true to himself all the way to the end.
He did. And he gave a lot of wisdom and knowledge too. And he always hit on that spiritual. One of his last speeches, he talked about the spiritual power, and he said, "You have that same power." He was on the Breakfast Club talking about it,
Mm.
but he would always say, "They can't kill everybody," and I ain't know what he meant until now. They cannot do whatever they want to do with everybody. That's why, if you ever been challenged, if you ever been through something, or harassed, or followed by the
Yep.
police,
4 times. 3 times federal court, and once he just he drove off pissed off because he couldn't do nothing.
because they first trying you for the spiritual power. They did. They used to do that to my son. My son said, "Yeah, the state troopers have pulled up on me twice and just swerved around and took off."
They be taking off mad.
They they're trained spiritual assassins. They train them first spiritually. That's just like the black ops. That's just like certain factions of the military. They are taught the spiritual part first. So if is just like an Asian warrior or a fighter, if they don't feel that spiritual power first, then they know they can have their way with you. But if those police officers and the state troopers feel that energy, they know they can't. They gotta bag up because this is what they know. Everything starts in the spirit realm first. The state troopers are daughters and are sons and daughters of the white cloth. So they
Mhm.
rank high above the daughters and sons of ISIS and the most Masonic orders. And so I had to tell one of these sheriffs that tried me while I was in there. They kept trying me, and he came to the cell with one of the underlings, one of the girls, one of the ladies. She was a little witch too, and I told him, I said, "Stop playing with me. Don't keep playing with me." And I had to let him know, "Don't keep playing with me." I said, "My spiritual ranking is way higher than your Masonic order. Coming to my cell trying to
You
debunk."
should ma- you should make a movie.
I know. I am. Oh, I got a whole bunch of stories that's unbelievable, but they really happened. And every time they had to bow down. This is what they do when they know they have to respect. They bowed their head, and he said, what did he say? Let me get it right. Okay, okay. He put his head down. He's supposed to be the sergeant and authority in the jail. So one of the ladies went and got him because I wasn't doing something she wanted me to do. So she went and got her higher ranking officer to try to tell me something. And when she went and got him, he came and stood at the cell with her, trying to invoke some kind of dominance over me. And I wasn't letting them ever dominate me, even though I'm behind these bars. You're not going to affect me. I know who I am and whose I am, and you're going to follow the law and rights. So he put his head down and he said, okay, okay. And he walked away. A second time, when they kept trying to give me shots, they kept bringing these nurses to my door trying to force me to take some shots and stuff. And she said, the nurse that came to the door said, I have to come and give you this, 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 and this. And I sat on that bed and I folded my arms and I pointed like this to my eye. And I said, no, you do not.
Mm.
And she quickly said, oh, yes, ma'am, you're right. You have autonomy. You have a good night. And she walked away.
They're trying to give you a shot of COVID, probably, like they
They,
did my uncle.
they did it to a lot of people. They wasn't giving me nothing. They was trying to strong arm me and just, force me to assimilate into something that I was not going to do. And I kept telling them it's on my record that I'm indigenous to this land. Everybody in this state, in this county, knows who I am. Don't keep asking me to take your shots. Don't force me to assimilate because we don't take your shot. We don't take no shots. So it was like a, a daily battle just to keep my autonomy.
So, so how do I use this master lane? And sorry, it's the one that you wrote up. So how do I use this? Because I don't know any other way of writing a lien other than copying what somebody else did. This is your master lien. So if I
You
want to lien uh, Nissan for not giving me my pink slip because the DMV told them not to give it to me because I'll well DMV has the pink slip. The DMV is holding the pink slip hostage. Nissan is holding my MCO MSO, the manufacturer certificate of origin. I'm trying to get a certified copy because the original was sent to DMV when my father bought the car. So I inherited the car, and I turned in the pink slip that was in my father's name and my stepmother's name, so they can put the pink slip in my name. Instead of them putting the pink slip in my name, they come up with all these fake charges, $800 worth of charges because I pulled my cars out of their system back in 2018. So from 2018 to now, I have not put my motor transportation back in their system because I don't need to. I don't have to. But I don't have the pink slip to that Nissan, so I was trying to get the MCMSO certified copy from Nissan. Nissan was going to give it to me. I had to wait over the weekend, and I called them on a Monday, and they said, "Oh, well, we can't give it to you." I said, "Why?" They said, "You have to talk to the DMV." So, oh, so you want to be a part of the fraud that the DMV is committing because they didn't tell my father that he doesn't have to have a pink slip and he doesn't have to have a license or tags or because that's illegal and unlawful. They didn't tell my father he can opt out of their program. So now I got the car and I've opted out of their program because they didn't tell me in the beginning since I was 16 years old. I'm 58 now. And all my other modes of transportation have been pulled out, just like the Nissan's been pulled out. The only thing is, I don't have the pink slip for the Nissan, so I wanted to get a certified copy from the Nissan since the DMV is holding my pink slip hostage. Nissan is in agreement with the DMV saying, "Oh, we're not going to give it to you because you have to go through the DMV." So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna write the CEO and tell him he should give me my certified copy of my MCOMSO, or he's going to be a part of the lawsuit. 'Cause I'll sue him and the DMV for committing fraud. Also, I can take my old copy of the title because I make copies before I send it to him, and I have a time date stamped. I can take that and get the information off it and make my own MCOMSO like I did for my Pontiac because Pontiac is no longer in existence. So my 65 GTO has a a MCOMSO that I generated based off of the title. They messed up, and they messed up when they gave me the title for my GTO, my certificate title for the GTO, the pink slip, but they didn't give me the title for the Nissan. GTO hasn't been registered since 2017, but they gave me the pink slip. The Nissan was registered and tagged from the day that I got it from my father because I was my father was driving around the car, and he no longer drive because of his dementia, so they took his license. But the car still had tags. So ever since my father's been in memory care and I pulled the cars out of their system, I'm not registering my motorcycles. I got two motorcycles, a truck, and two cars. I didn't register none of them. Haven't registered any of them. So with my 2015 Ford F-150, because I pulled all of them out of the system, they uh they said, well, we're gonna keep your cars in the system. I said, well, if that's what you want to do, I said, no problem. I said, because if somebody steals my car, you have all the information. I said, but they're not gonna have any registration. I'm not gonna have registration because I'm indigenous and I don't have to be registered with you. I can make up my own. And so, for my Ford F-150, they said, well, we're gonna send you these tags every year, so you just keep these tags in your glove compartment. I'm saying, well, what's that for? I said, the car's been unregistered since 2019. They said, well, you can just keep these tags just in case you run into an officer, a higher
They
patrol
trying to
officer
bring you
that
into the
doesn't know
system.
law. I said, okay. I
They
took the
trying to
tags.
bring you. Okay, so listen what they did. They just tricked you out of your autonomy. They brought you into a contract. They made you think it was something good for you. You already told them you didn't want the tag. You didn't want to register.
Hmm.
See, see what I'm saying? That's why they
But I
able to
haven't signed. I
tell.
haven't signed, and there's nothing signed with them.
Verbal. You agree to it. You accepted it. You have the tags. It's a contract, and that's why. That's how they was able to control the situation with you and the dealer. At first, the dealer was on
Okay,
board,
but here's what
right?
they did. They said, well, you don't have to have California plates on your car. You can have your indigenous plates. So on all my cars, my truck, my two motorcycles, they have the indigenous plate.
So
Right?
why do you need the tags, Noble? That means you don't
I
need
just-
the tag. You accepted the tag, so you accepted the contract, and they have control over those tags and that contract. And they told the dealer not to give you that. So you have to break the contract. It's the same thing with
wow.
R7. You have to break the contract. You
Okay.
shouldn't have no contract with them. You don't need no tags with them. You're not completely autonomous. You see
So
what I'm saying?
even though they have the reclamation on record, they have the revocation on record,
You
and they have
agree.
the
You agree.
right.
That's all they ever try to do is get you to agree to something.
Wow. Okay.
Because you wasn't sure. You was shaky on your square.
Hmm.
That's all it is a game. They always trying to see how they can get you to fold, how they can get you to get in a contract with them. That gives them certain jurisdiction over the matter.
So when these tags expire, I ain't gonna ask them for no more tags. I ain't gonna because I don't pay for nothing. I don't pay for nothing. But they'll put it down on the on the
Doesn't
paper as if I paid.
that's
I was like,
what
wait a minute.
that,
They put
that's
down
that's how
they
they
put
got.
down that I paid $25 to for them to hand me a piece of paper so I can get my car out of impound or my motorcycle out of impound because they did the same thing with my motorcycle. And my
They,
motorcycle they really messed up because they had it in my brother's name and it still had it in my brother's address, but that hasn't been since 2017. I had that motorcycle since 2018, been in my name since 2018, but they still had it in my brother's name and my brother's address. And then somebody really screwing up. They had it down as having a lien. I ain't had a lien on that bike since 2018. Lien was paid off, so I called the bank or yeah, I called my bank. I said, hey, they're saying that there's still a lien on my motorcycle. They said, well, no, there hasn't been a lien since 2021. I said, well, did you send the payoff that has been paid off that I owe anything? They said, yeah, we sent it to the DMV in California. I said, well, they're saying they never received it. I said, send it to them again. So they can see that I have no lien. So they sent that to them. They seen I didn't have a lien. And then so I went home and something just told me to go back into my insurance company and just check. Something told me to do that. So I went back in and I looked and it said I had a lien. Somebody put a lien on it. But this time with a bank called Huntington National Bank, a bank I ain't never heard of, in a state that I ain't never been to, Ohio. Who's Huntington National Bank in Ohio? So they're talking about they got a lien on my motorcycle. So
hmm,
I called DMV. DMV said I have to call the bank.
that's white
So I,
collar right
so I called the bank
there.
and they said, "What's your social?" I was about to give my social, and soon my wife said, "No." She said, "Don't give me your social. Hang up." I said, "Why?" She said, "Hang up." So I hung up. I said,
Then they
"Why?
would
What's
have
going
all the
on?"
pieces.
Because she used to work in insurance and all that. She said they're trying to get your social security number so they can say that they have a business with you and show that you have some business because they have your social. That's if you give them the social, they can make something up to say you have business. I said, wow, I didn't think of that. I said, okay. Uh, so I said, okay. I call them again. I said, hey, excuse my language, who the fuck are you? Yeah. On my insurance company talking about you, I have a lien with you. I don't know who you are. I never been to your state. Never had no dealing with you at your bank. And they asked me for my social again. So I hung up.
Yeah, they
Went
was
back to went back to DMV
that was
and
fraud
and
at its
and
finest.
DMV
Color crime.
DMV. When I went, it was eight. Was I was the first one in line. I went there 7 o'clock in the morning. I said, "Where?" I can't remember the guy's name. So on tip of my tongue. But I said, where's the guy who's in charge? He's in charge of all the DMV. I said, where's he at? They said, oh, well, he doesn't come in until uh 8:30. I said, okay. So I sat down, I wait for him. And the lady said, well, no, you need to come down here and sit down on this end. And I said, okay. So got up, I sat down right in front of where they go and they fill out paperwork so they can take the driving, the physical driving test. I'm sitting there. And then some lady came out. She said, excuse me, sir, you have to move. I said, look, I'm not moving no more. The lady over there told me, she said, sit here. I'm going to sit here. So I waited 10 more minutes. Now I got hot because I said, man, it's 8:30. He ain't here yet. So I said, I stood up. Oh, I remember his name now. I stood up. I says, I'm still waiting here. I'm looking for Byron. His name was Byron. I said it real loud. Everybody stopped. And he looked at me. And the lady ran in the back. And then all of a sudden, this motherfucker comes out walking out. Yes, sir. May I help you? It's a brother. It's a brother, right? He's traveling. I don't know.
Okay,
He's Mason. He's
you know
traveling.
what? Okay, that's what they was doing. They was
He
trying
act like he act like he ain't
to
never seen me.
power.
Oh,
They
may
was
I help you,
trying
sir?
to
I said,
see.
look. I
You
said,
see
hey,
what they was
man.
doing, right?
I said, I don't know what kind of game you playing. I said, but you know what? I can do one or two things. I said, I can just walk out of here, go to the sheriff's department. Bring the sheriff back, and I'll put locks on all these fucking doors, and you guys won't be able to go to work. I said, I don't want to do that. He said, well, there's a lot of people. I said, I don't care about those people over there. I don't care about those people. He said, I can see that. I said, but you know what? I said, you're a smart individual. I said, you got your stuff together. I said, but you know what? They got you playing gatekeeper, and you don't want to do that. You don't want to play gatekeeper with me on this. I says, you know why? I says, because you took the contract. You accepted the contract. He said, what contract? I said, well, remember that reclamation that I gave you and all that paperwork I gave you, you guys loaded it up in your system, and then you gave me all of the paperwork and everything based off of the contract. Then you changed my name. So remember, I was born Bernice Earl McGill Jr. I said, what does it say on his license? I held my license up. I said, read it. I said, what does it say? What's the name on there? Noble Bernice Earl McGill L. Bay. I said, who changed that? I said, you changed it. I said, now, did I have to go to any court for the name change? I said, no. I didn't have to go to any court. I did everything to do a reclamation affidavit. You accept the reclamation. You change my name based off the reclamation. That means you accepted the contract. Read the contract. Have you read the contract? He's like, what contract? I said, the reclamation. I said, it's in your system. Have you read the contract? I said, I suggest you go in your office, take a little bit of time, and read the contract. I said, you'll find in there that I'm tax free, fee free, charge free, and toll free. He said,
Mm.
what does that mean? I said, go read the contract, Byron. Read the contract. And so
Yeah, he's playing his
he walked
game.
away. And then he came back like 5 minutes later. He whispered in the lady's ears. And then he says, okay, uh, just, you have your license with you and you have the piece of paper. Say, go over to this lady and give her your address and give her your information. I said, for what? I said, are you trying to give me a contract with you guys again? He said, no, just give her your information and she'll pull the paper up for you so that way you can get your motorcycle out of impound. Because I had to get my motorcycle out of impound, but I couldn't get it out of impound. Then I said, showed that I don't owe them nothing. Because they said,
Mm.
well, we can't give you that because you owe $800 in rearage. I said, bullshit. I said, how I owe $800? I pulled my motorcycle out of the system in 2018, and you guys accepted the contract. And in that contract, it says I'm tax free, free, charge free, toll free. So now you tell me how I owe you. He said, you know what? Just put down that he paid $27 and give him the paperwork so he can get his motorcycle out of impound. I sat there, I waited. The lady did her
They
stuff.
tried their best to strong arm you, and you stood your ground. That's
She
what they were
tapped, she
trying to
typed,
do.
she handed me the paper. Here you go, sir. All the ladies were in there smiling at me. And then he said, now, I said, you know what? Why don't you just kill two birds with one stone and take care of the Nissan too? So, no, we'll take care of that later. I said, no, we'll just take care of the Nissan too. I said, I don't have to come back here. No, we'll take care of that later. I said, well, okay. So I left and I left my phone. I accidentally left my phone there. I left the building, got in my car. I drove off. I was halfway home and I realized I didn't have my phone because my car said, phone disconnected. Oh, shit. Do a U-turn, go all the way back to the DMV. As soon as I walked in the building, said, "Oh, it's over here, sir." They held my phone up. They said, "Oh, it's over here, sir." So I went. I got my phone. Thank you very much. She goes, "Yeah, and really think about giving those classes so you can teach everybody, what it is that you know." I said, "No, I'm not giving any classes. I'm not going to do that." And they said, "Well, you can just come and visit us anytime." Well, this is all the ladies because they were
Yeah,
impressed with the fact of how I handled their boss. So then I
right.
walked out, got my phone, got in the car, and that's what told me, son, I need to check because I left my phone there and they could have got into my phone, right? So I went home and everything looks normal. And so I called the insurance company. I called Geico, and then Geico says, not Geico. It wasn't Geico. It was a damn the DMV. He handed me a piece of paper, and it was showing that there's a lien. So I called Geico when I got home, and Geico said, "No, we have no lien. Ain't no lien on here." I said, "Well, they playing games again. Okay, no problem." But that whole day,
That was
it was
white
just
collar crime. They was trying to extort you, get some money out of you. But if you don't know any better, the
I
average
ain't.
person would have just said, I ain't going through all of this. Let me just pay them.
So how do I just hand them this or send this to them certified, like send it to them
You have you
certified
have
mail?
you have to structure that in accordance to who it is against. You can't just give them a copy of the one I did. It has certain information on it that needs to be changed.
Okay, that's
And
why when I sent this to the people, my realtor. I sent this to the people who M&T Bank, who's a mortgager for my house. I sent this to them. They sent it back. They said this is frivolous. Don't send anything like this to us again. I said frivolous. I said this is frivolous. This ain't frivolous.
it's not if it's not related to them or your property, it doesn't have your property description, legal description on it. It does not pertain to anything. It
Right. Okay.
to attach it to something.
Because this, I just got this copy. This is a copy verbatim. The only thing I added that's pertaining to me is my name at the end.
You didn't read it. See, you was following
I
them.
read it. I read it.
You was following those bad instructions that was floating around by the council court. They got everybody um, hemmed up with doing something unlawful with interest and NTL based liens and paperwork. That is, like I said, a COINTELPRO operation.
But see, it's got my
Here,
name,
here,
address.
just take this lien and go and file it. You can file it. Just you can use this one. They don't. They trying to
I got
cross.
my I got my own seal.
Yeah, it's really convoluted now. It's really convoluted now. Too much going on. See, y'all,
My seal says Maurice Republic Chief Constable.
folks be having too much information and it ain't even necessary. Oh, that's funny.
You know who told me? You know who told me to do this, right? Uh, uh, Tonus.
Cause he and who does he follow?
Yeah.
Okay, I had to get on him recently. You saw I got on him
Mm-mm.
in the group.
No, I wasn't there.
Come sending me. Don't send me nothing else on these frauds. And she's sitting up there with her head dress on, her turban on, and white
Oh, you talking about
and a white.
light?
Man, I said if you don't stop, this fraud is trying to mimic the Empress. I said these people they get on my nerve from day one. Try to act like they all down with the team or all the whole time. They
So
talk
this is not a standard.
that be
This is not a standard like sheet.
listen. The, the instruction
Who who, who is
the
it directed to
instructions and
though?
information that these fraudulent individuals gave out to other people had to do with me and my claims and my properties that I had put liens upon, which is totally irrelevant to everybody else. Why they would tell someone
Mm,
to take what I did and just go file it, that means they're ignorant. They're either ignorant or purposefully trying to cause confusion and get someone
yeah.
locked up. Okay, that's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, they got on. They got the FBI, there's TSA, the CIA, NSA, all the alphabet soup.
They are so fraudulent.
Yeah.
They are so fraudulent. It is unreal. But
Oh,
that MSO, It has to do with the contract that you still have with the DMV, and it sounds like they tricked you into a contract. They said this guy is smart. He thinks he's smart. We want to get him.
Through my truck. Then they did it through my truck. So even though I don't have to have California plates, they got me because I
Yes,
accept a tag from them,
yes.
and I just carry the tag in my
And
glove
you did the
compartment.
same. You
Cops don't
did.
pull me over. Nothing. They 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 respect the plate. They don't pull me over. Nothing. Every once in a while, you get one that'll pull me over, and I handle the reclamation, the revocation, and the rights of indigenous people. And he don't want to read all that stuff. So he just says, "Just go. Next time I see you, you better have a California plate." I said, "No, sir." He go out, he speed up.
So, so this guy
Leave me
at the
alone.
DMV sounds like he did the same thing again. You said he gave you a 27. Just said you paid 20 something dollars, and he was able to go.
Yeah,
Okay, so they're doing the exact same thing with that right there.
$23, not
They're
27. I'm looking
saying
at it.
you're paying
$23.
$23 for the tag, but you're not. So he's keeping you under their jurisdiction by doing that because you can put on record that you have that vehicle, but you don't have to have their tag for that.
Mm.
Okay, you can document on the record with them that you have that the vehicle exists, or you can put it in
Hmm.
business name or tribal name or something like that.
So I tell you, he tried to pull a fast one, right? And he pointed out where it's talking about tribal, and he says, "You're not on a reservation, and you have to be on a
Mm-hmm.
reservation in order to not have." I said, man, I said, read it again. I said, read it. What does it say? It doesn't say anything about me having to be on a reservation. It says I don't have to be on a reservation. It doesn't have to be on a reservation. But you're trying to say you have to be. He changed the words, but that's not what it says. It says I don't have to be on a reservation. I can read. Can you read?
See, they don't want us to know that we have this autonomy. They don't want us to know. Like the
Yeah.
DMV in North Carolina blatantly came out and told the truth and said, I did not um, need to be on. Well, they said, I think they said pretty much the same thing. I did not have to be specifically on a reservation because the whole state of North Carolina is a reservation territory. And I've been.
The whole United
Exactly.
States is a reservation territory because they're supposed to decolonize. The Pope said decolonize when
And
Barack Obama was
before
president.
that,
And so I
it's
tell them, go
been
look
that
that up.
before, even before that. But they've been hiding it. So these are all the secrets that they have been keeping from us. It's like the smoke and mirror that has been over the population, making us think that they have control and power that they don't have.
Hmm.
They just don't have it.
And everything can be done through
Exactly.
affidavit.
Exactly. And now that we have our own tribal governance and tribal courts, we can give orders through our own tribal courts and have the full faith and credit respected in every court and venue. So that's the level that I have adopted. After I went on to beating them in court, and they playing games. One time, the Supreme Court of North Carolina sent me back a response and said, a response to a whole case, denied. One word. I mean, how fraudulent is that? They just fraud.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. They're not giving you what's it called? They're not giving you your due justice. It's another word. I can't think of it. Due. they're not giving you proper justice on your day in court. If they just one word being denied, what does that mean? How and who are they to deny anything?
Yeah, they
You know,
they always try to, for some reason, uphold the lie and the fraud. And that is the big secret in America, to keep from us that we have our own autonomy, especially after we have proclaimed it, we have put it in writing, we have, filed it for, duly filed it for the record, and verbally made it known. We have the right to autonomy. We have the right, especially after we proclaim who we are. But for some reason,
hmm
they've been taught to try to automatically just force us into assimilation, because that's their
right.
bread and butter, is to manipulate us, dominate us, and make us pay their fees on our own land to these false corporations, dead corporations, that's trying to tell us something that we have to have to be free on our own land. It makes no sense. If you think about it, if you really truly um, come to terms with what freedom actually means, that should mean something to a lot of people. But most people, they caught up in the rat race. They just want to get by from day to day. Their heritage is not the first thing on their agenda, but at the end of the day, it will be. So I suggest that everybody get their affairs in order, because it's gonna come a
Can you
time
see that?
where that's gonna be the most important thing that you need to get straight.
Can you
Yeah,
see
it's
that, or is it
small.
too small?
It's small.
How do I do this? Let me see. Virtual.
All right. So yeah, sounds like they pulled a fast one on you, Nova. Well, that's our session for today. Peace and divine love to the family watching. I hope y'all got something out of the conversation. And we will be back tomorrow for our 100 days and 100 nights of our prayer for the youth and for ourselves, and covering and protection as always. Divine love. And I'm out. Mind, mantras, magic over everything.